I'm really enjoying this. Welcome to welcome to Own It Magazine. My name is Marisa Bludorn. I am your host. I am also the editor-in-chief of Own It Magazine and Publishing. I just want to share with you, we are live tonight with some handsome, sharp, intelligent, on top of their game gentlemen. And I just want them to take center stage and own it with me. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for this powerful Own It Magazine special edition of Honoring Our Men, Top Men in Leadership. Today we are shining a spotlight on men who don't just hold their titles, but carry responsibility, men who lead with authority, rooted in integrity, authenticity, anchored in character, influence that uplifts, and a legacy that extends far beyond themselves. Taking center stage and owning it with me is Own It contributing writer, Lawrence Stokes. Welcome, my brother, editor-in-chief of Off the Bench magazine. And Brian Leonard, he is an author, multi-best-selling author. And we have Dr. Barry Ricoma, all the way from Nevada. Again, another best-selling author. How are you gentlemen doing? And welcome to Own It.
Good evening.
Doing great. Thank you, Marie.
Again, doing okay. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited. Listen, we are going to dive right into the conversation. As I mentioned last week, we went in, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what this conversation will actually bring out in you gentlemen. And so we're here with the special edition, and you know that I work with both men and women. So when we did Women Celebrating Women, it was natural for me to go back and say, oh, we have got to honor our men. And so when you receive this email that says, hey, we want to spotlight you in this special edition of Own It, it's all men. How did that impact you? I want to start with you, Lawrence. When you got it, leading in authority, authenticity, influence, and legacy, what did that make you feel like?
For me, when I got it, I'm always for the person that's unseen, because I know what that's like, or I know what that feels like. And so for me, if I'm able to talk to someone who feels like I felt for many, many years and pass on the wisdom that I've gained over the years, I always go for, you want to say, the underdog, the one that you didn't think that was going to make it, and who thinks they can't make it, but you can, because I'm a living witness to it. So when I got that, I always try to put in my mind, what is it that I can talk about? Because I'm not I guess a person who's really prolific or wordsmith or something like that. But I try to appeal to people's logic. Hey, just because it looks insurmountable, it does not mean that mountain can't be defeated.
Awesome. So I'm going to charge that question to all of you, and then we're just going to dive in. I want to know what's on your heart. So Mark, when you got that email from me, I'm always harassing you. And how did we meet, Mark? Let's dive into that first. This journey.
Listen, Marisa, every time I try to tell the story, it doesn't sound good when I start the story off. I was in Philly on a trip, and I met you in a Lyft ride, and the conversation started. That's how this jumped off. But you asked me where I was in town. I was actually in town to speak for an organization the next day, and was in early. I was going to hang out someplace. You dropped me off. We changed IGs, and next thing I know, I got a call from you talking about, hey, I want you in this magazine. And I'm unlike Brother Stokes. I said, I'm not a writer. No, I want you to have your own magazine. And then went from there. And so that's how it started. And it's been like that ever since. And we've been running tight on a lot of different things. I've seen you start several things and destroy a lot of great projects and get these books off and get these magazines off the door. You had a crew of, I don't know how many people when I joined the magazine crew, but my whole sole goal was to get off your tutelage of helping us write the magazine, do my own thing. That was the goal, and it was scary. It was scary because the magazine was wildly successful off the bench with off the bench magazine. So that's how we met, and out of that came the rest of the gentlemen came on the King Conversation Project, everything else. So I am like, brother, I ride with you pretty much wherever you're going because I know I'm going to meet great people along the way, great men along the way who are like minded, and that's hard to find at this point in time.
That's and you're getting ready to lead up another project. We're in the midst of that. King Conversations 2, the conclave. That's amazing. Share a little bit about that. What and that also too ties in with this here. It's about the men, and so share a little bit about that. And then Brian, you're up, so get your juices flowing, and then Barry, you're next.
Yeah. So the conclave, yeah, book 2. Came about after we did. I came to you. I was like, "Hey, I want to do this thing called King Conversations." Starting, in the pandemic time, it was me and my son having conversations because he was locked here with me, and one of us was coming out of here alive. That's all I'm going to say. And and having conversations with my younger self for that time window, and that's what we did. We would have conversations, and it was me pouring into my son and to other people. And I recognized that this has been going on his whole life. This wasn't a new phenomenon. With us having these conversations, very open, very honest, very to the core. And I woke up one morning, felt like God to put on my heart that, you know what, I work in a lot of spaces where there are single moms and they're coming into the gyms and whatnot with kids. I said, what if I could just put something in their hand for the son and them and the moms to read about for some other positive men saying something that they can live off of, right? Some life lessons. And that's how King Conversation was born. The Conclave, book 2, is the continuation of conversations because a conclave is a sacred meeting of people to do something and change direction. The most recent one we would all witness worldwide was when the Pope passed. That is a conclave, and all the cardinals and bishops come to the Vatican and they vote and have secret meetings about what they do. My fraternity has them every 2 years. We call them conclaves. We meet, get the directions, see what's going on, and we go back about our mission. So I felt like this would be a great subtitle for the book. All these men coming together, sharing insight, passing wisdom, and then going back out to where we came from to carry on the mission. So that's Conversations 2, the conclave, which is going to be coming out in June of this year.
Mm-hmm. Share before we go to Brian, share about the experience, like when you guys, volume 1, you guys came to the Dominican Republic and you were now face to face. So you do a lot of times with anthologies and book projects, it's done virtually. You're done Zoom meetings, this, that, and the other. But the coming together in person, and then, gentlemen, you've all been in anthology, so we'll tap into that, your experiences too, because it makes a big difference when you come together after you've written this project, you've written from your heart, you come together and you're in the room. Talk about what happened in the Dominican Republic.
Who was that to? Was that to me? Or was that back to?
Yeah, it's you.
Oh, I thought you called somebody else's name. So listen, so that was huge. Getting to see the men who wrote the book after seeing them online for so often, and then the immediate connection that we had, because there were some females around, but we clocked in. And I'm gonna say, and Lawrence was there on the side of the beach. The conversations that we held, the discussions that we had were so powerful that I tried to record something, I just forgot about it. But it was such a great release to be around other men, other kings, to have a conversation, and they understood what we were talking about. We shared all kinds of stories and backdrops, and I'm gaining knowledge and wisdom because I love that kind of thing. But I don't think I've ever been a part of a book project that actually got together on some level. You know what I'm saying? Outside of 1 or 2, we'll do a book signing or whatever. The draw was to try to get everybody to come, which with 30 plus people would be a bit challenging. I get it, but that was the draw. The biggest takeaway was that we couldn't keep the communications going, right? There was not a continual gathering. We tried for a while on text, like 4 or 5 of us kept on texting, and then life starts lifing. And if we can conquer that thing to really make a community grow that we can depend on to reach back out to one another in times of whatever, or in times of celebration, it don't have to be always some drama, is probably the drive next time with the conclave, is to keep the thing going afterwards. We get past that first month and a half of high energy, I think you can make it run. I think you're making run. But I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to gathering with the men again in the DR this year.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. And I know that it's needed. And the commitment is making it priority. I know for me as a lead, it, I just find it so much easier. Some people feel like, oh my God, you meet with your people every week. I said it's easier because to regain momentum afterwards is just like so difficult and challenging. So by having a meeting set up, we're going to meet and then that's it, has always been the victory for me in the long run, and keeping connected with the people that I'm working with on my projects. But I just feel like and women do this a lot, but I just love to see that would happen. That commitment to growth and transformation is really strongly there. We're gonna Lawrence, I want you to think, because Mark shared his perspective, but I want you to dive into it as well as what happened when you were here in the Dominican Republic. Not right now, just think about it. Let your juices flow. Brian, talk to us when you got the email to say, "Hey, we're honoring you. We want to honor our men." What was your first initial reaction to that?
Once again, first of all, Marissa, I want to thank you for your heart uh, reaching out to me. And I've always believed in the power of healthy connections, healthy communication, the like mindedness that comes with either men or women, because we as men, we bring a different energy, a high level of energy that a lot of people are hungry and thirsty for. They may not realize it. And regardless of their background or what their career field may be, everybody, we have what I believe is what I call a hidden treasure in all of us, that can really help make the difference in everybody's life, no matter where we live at, no matter what state we may be in. You know, God has gifted us with a hidden treasure. And that hidden treasure is not just for us, because there are those out there who are literally looking for answers, you know, whether it be brothers of all races, all creeds, all backgrounds, different languages around the world. And my blessing is to be able, from my previous calling through Sister Deborah Fry, at the time when I was going through the situation, it was like a God sent, that we were able to come together because both of us, we had previously attended church at our previous church. And when she heard about the news of me and what had happened, she asked me to be a part of a men's anthology. Once again, the power of healthy communication and connection. And I didn't hesitate one bit. I said, look, I would love to be a part of helping inspire and changing lives through the first two men's anthologies, Grief Through His Eyes, seeing grief from his point of view. Such a powerful impact that it not only inspired and impacted the lives of men, but women was literally buying the book off the chain. Women really were like reading it in a whole day. But as time went on, that's where, for some reason, blessed reason, with Sister Deborah Fry, you came along, Marissa, in the midst of this, which was good, you know, because you know how God, it's amazing how the Lord just send the right people at the right time, the right moment in your life, and you never ever met them in your life, but they have such a spirit of compassion. And that's what drew me to be able to be a part of not only just your amazing, I would call it ministry, global ministry, because you are missional, but also with editor in chief Mark Wiggins, who's also missional. a man I believe who is full of integrity, a man I believe is going to always continue to impact and change lives. Just like Lawrence, Stokes, he knows what we've done in the first two volumes. So it's good to be able to be in a community of men and women who I believe can really make the difference. You may not a lot of times get the pat on the backs or the attaboys or the attagirls, but I goes back to what I mentioned before about the hidden treasure that God has put in all of us that can really transform, and I want to emphasize transform the lives of men and women around the world. And all it takes is one. That's all I'm looking for is one. Now I know there's a multitude of men and women can be touched, but brothers, Lawrence, Mark, Barry, if you can just touch one person, that can just mean the difference in not only their lives but in my life as well. So I am deeply thankful and blessed that Marissa came along, that you came along, and even in my times, it has been a journey. But I got good news tonight, y'all. I am much stronger. I am much more excited, and I just want to serve. I'm not. Long story short, I'm not in it for the accolades, because the Lord Jesus said, "If you do it to the least of my brothers and sisters, you've done it unto me." Okay, and that's missional. Okay, that is missional, because we're all on a mission here, and I'm just thankful that we can be a part of of men, a group of men and other men, whether they're here tonight or soon to come, to be a part of the anthology that's going to, I believe, really help change lives and continue to be a legacy that you're leaving, Marissa, and you're leaving Mark, and you're leaving Lawrence, and you're leaving Barry, and including myself. So
Yes.
I'm very thankful to be a part of this wonderful, wonderful community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So good insight, so good insight. And so, Dr. Rakoma, you are up. You had some time. You've been marinating.
Yes. Again, thank you for having me on again. I think for me, my story is still evolving. I'm just on a roller coaster ride right now. I'm enjoying the accolades of what it means to be a best-selling author, but I'm also understanding that there's a lot of responsibility that comes behind that as well. So for me, for the story, my journey began on another book project before I even met you. I met you through an interview during that promotion. You saw my potential, and you brought me on board as a contributing writer to Own It magazine. So to caveat onto Mark's King's conversation, I pretty much didn't have a choice. You sent me the email, "Hey, I got you on this. You're doing it." And I was like, okay. And I think I was only in my second article at that time. So whenever I get an email from you, I'll skim over it, and then I start flipping through my calendar to see what I have on my plate already to make sure I can accommodate. So right now, I'm pretty much caught up with everything other than my next book project. But I have been having a great time with being an author and doing sharing my story, right? And just like all three gentlemen said, if it touches one person, awesome. And even if it doesn't, for me, the journey started as a way of healing. I'm not much of a journaler, but through the writing, it's allowed me to get a better perspective of what people that do journal, what they go through. Because I do have to sit down and think about, the stories that I want to share. Ooh, okay, well, there we go. That's why we're live. So
You're good.
But yeah, I look forward. I was looking forward to going to the conclave in June. Unfortunately, scheduling problems prevented that. But I'm going to be there in May. So it'll be my first experience in the Dominican Republic. I'm looking forward to it, not just from the aspect of being an author and a speaker, but I haven't never had a vacation. So this will be my first real vacation ever. So,
and the beautiful thing about when you come to the Dominican Republic, under anything with Own It, Lawrence and Mark will attest. You do get to have some downtime. I don't work you to death, right, gentlemen? I don't work you to death. I think of you as grown up, so I give you some you time. So you'll be able to actually enjoy yourself. Want to tap on what Dr. Racoma was mentioning, as he said he's got all his stuff in. As a publisher and an editor-in-chief, and even on my own self, I organized, we're getting ready to release an 8-book volume series. And what he's referring to is he's got all his chapters in for all 8 books. So understand what I mean by being vigorous and what we do in Own It Magazine and Publishing to position yourself as an authoritarian in the work that you do and the heartbeat that you're speaking from. You have a voice, you have an experience that someone may need to be inspired to help them to move forward, especially when we look around and we hear conversations in the world in regards to so much negativity. We want to, through our writings, because writing is therapeutic. It speaks first to the author itself and then to the reader. And it is a healing journey because you're processing it when you write. You are processing that experience. And again, I am so very proud of you. And like I said, all this stuff happened. So don't worry about the picture coming down because you was looking good. And when you put it back up, you got to be looking good again. So yes. I just want to pivot over to Lawrence because Mark shared his experience. But Lawrence, I know you go in, and I know that Mark will go in too. But share what happened when you guys were, I'm not sure if it was happening during our rehearsal for the Own It X Live or it was during the actual Own It X Live. But there was a moment in which you guys got real. And I want you to share that moment.
Well, we got to back it up to when I got to the DR. And I'm not sure if I was the last one coming, but when I got there, everybody was sitting down eating. So I walk in, and the eyes pivot because I walk in, I'm traveling, so my hat's on backwards. I'm just walking in. Then I guess we branch off. We start meeting each other individually. Now, and maybe Brian can attest to this. Being ex-military, you try to find that niche, that space to where okay, I'm observing and I'm seeing where everything was, seeing how everything is. Okay, how do I need to adjust myself? How do I need to conduct myself? Okay, now me and Mark. Now my favorite character is Batman. I'm the one in the shadows. Okay, I get in Mark's ear and I'll say something to make him laugh. And I'll just sit back, right? So once we had that connection, Mark, myself, Shelby, and there was a few others, and once we got that connection, all right. Now it's good, because I understand that. All right, these brothers are not uptight. They got a sense of humor, to me. That's the icebreaker. So when we sat down and had that, and Mark, you can attest to this, when we had that conversation on the beach, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and man, we had a conversation, and it was women at the table. It was a back and forth. It wasn't so much a you're right, you're wrong. It was okay. Well, that's not how I see it. We'll check it out from this perspective. And that conversation got deep, and you come away from it like, okay. But I do want to caveat for a second and talk about one of the greatest things that I experienced prior to me coming to, and we're talking, this was maybe at the time, about 11 to 12 years prior to, and I took a course on, put it this way, it was a course on human sexuality, and I was the only guy in the room. I had 10 women, only guy in the room. And it gave me such a great perspective on appreciating women's points of views and how they see things, and nothing was off the table. It for the lack of a better term, it jacked my head up from that day going forward. So now we get down, you know, we're in the DR and we're having these conversations, and it was a really, really good conversation because no one came away mad, no one got an attitude, but it was a really, really great conversation, and it kind of just happened, and what was it? The conversation started because of the Cheesecake Factory. You remember, Mark? That's where the conversation started, and it just went from there. It just went from there, and we're like, wow! But it was a very, very good, deep conversation. So many different perspectives, and then after that, once everybody dispersed, it was like the four of us, we men, and we sat and we had conversation. You know, among other things, men talking about the things we do. And that in itself was very enlightening. So just, you know, being a part of King Conversations and coming down and meeting everybody, we had a blast. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that we commandeered a club and we just took it and did what we wanted to do with it. But we had fun. We had fun. You know,
I tell you. You know, and Lawrence, when we had that conversation and the women were trying to come in and we were like stiff arming Heisman, you know, y'all get back over there, and it was not a soft conversation. We were not quiet at all, but it was heartfelt. It was insight and this and third. People explain stories, and you kind of lean back and you take a cigar, lean back, like, you know, I get what you're saying. I get it. You know, I see that, and it was just boom, 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 boom. All night long. It was like I said, I couldn't wait till the next night to get back out there. Like, well, I said with Shelby, I think it started raining or something one of them days, and we up on his deck, and he pretty much said, I've never really done anything like this before. I said, be on the deck smoking when it's raining? And he said, no, hanging out with men and having conversation. I said, for real? I said, this is the need. This is the King conversation. This is the reason for the conclave, because we don't do it enough, often, or at all. You know, we don't, just to get together and share insight, crack a joke, crack a smile, say men things. Like women had that, they had that girl, they have all of their thing, but we have ours too. We just don't ever get together to do it. And when we got together and started doing our men or whatever, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. And for me, the interview that took place after the piece. Now I'm locked in to speak. I'm coming down there. The water and the ocean and sand will be there when I finish this thing I got to do, right? Which was to do the Own It X, deliver a presentation I've been working on, stretching myself out to do something totally different. And after that, I was good to go. But that interview with the men that were in the book, and that was the first time really meeting and hearing stories. And then brothers told a story, he started crying, and people trying to hug and everything. Women were just over, oh my God. And it was like, I forgot they were there for a little bit. Had they not said anything, it was just us talking. You know, I'm doing my thing, interviewing and asking questions. And when a brother can share a story, another one just put his arm around them for no other reason but to support. We didn't know the whole story. We didn't particularly care about the whole story. All we knew was this man was in front of us sharing something that was meaningful to him. And out of that came the rest of what happened while we were there in the DR. So it's imperative when you, as men, have a place to go and just, you know, let your guard down a little bit. You know, you take a couple of jabs in the head because what we do, and if you're good at it, it's funny. And you give a little, take a little, and at the end of the day, you walk out and say, well, this is definitely needed. I go back to what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? Back to the war I was fighting before I got to the DR. So definitely that, especially that. But yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. And I love that you had fun hanging out under my umbrella and were able to really, really enjoy yourselves. Yeah, you guys did take over the lounge.
Yep.
Indeed. Indeed.
And that is the VIP lounge. Those people were having a conniption. You guys just took it hostage. The other VIPs didn't know what to do. Uh, and so I want to ask, and we'll start with Brian. I want to ask this question of you guys because I hear it consistently, and like I said, you'll hear me say it over and over again. Being married for such a long period of time, I noticed also too. My husband at the time, he didn't really have male support. Like he had one gentleman that he was really, really close with. His best friend had passed away like a couple of months after we had gotten married. His best friend was in a traumatic incident and his life was taken away. And so my ex-husband had to really, really deal with that pretty much on his own in processing it. And I just know that for you guys to really, really bond and make friends, that's, you guys have your own flavor and way of doing that. Brian, I'm going to start with you. What would be how do you forge forward? I know one of the launches and one of the ways that this can happen is through a project like this, a joint project. And it only happens if you guys go deep enough, if you allow yourselves to get open enough to fuse together and to bond in a way that gets you so committed that you hold one another accountable. Do you see that same need? I just, as a woman, and you have to understand my heart. So I'm going to be very transparent. My heart is for you guys to get better, to get healed, because I project out. My heart aches because I know the challenges and the troubles and the struggles that you guys are in have a direct impact inside the home, outside in the community, immediate community, and the community at large. So my heart breaks because I know that if you guys got it right, how that would have a ripple effect in such a phenomenon of a way that really brings healing to the household, not just you, but to everything that you touch, everything that you come in contact with. That's my heart. And yeah, I'm deep, and yeah, I mean it, and yeah, I'm passionate about it. And that's why I do what I do, lay down my life and say I will make myself available, because I want to see healing, I want to see deliverance, I want to see liberation, I want to see restoration in the house, in your souls, in your own mind, so that you guys can begin to really, really enjoy this life that God has given to you as a gift. And so that's my heart. That's why I do this. And yeah, I'm a daddy's girl. I'm a daddy's girl because I got 3 daddies. And so, Brian, what would be your insight, or like, where's your perspective on that? How do we do this? Because it's a major thing among it's among women too, but you guys are the heads.
That is a great question. And what I've learned personally in my life, men may not realize it, but sometimes men do act this way. Sometimes men, when we don't be ourselves, we literally become like robots. To the point where if we're not sharing deeply what is going on within us, especially when it comes to other men. And we talked about this last week. And one of the things I discovered, that even with other brothers and men, and even the ladies, you also have to be very important, because it's important to ensure that you can have someone who you can trust. As I was listening to Lawrence and Mark when they were on the beach and they were breaking ice, there was a level of trust. And that trust kept going deeper and deeper, to the point where they could just share anything. And it was so powerful. It was such a wonderful hidden treasure that they discovered within themselves as men, that other flies on the wall, so to speak, wanted to come in and figure out, wait, what is going on? What are you guys, what is this gift that you guys have that we are just like, seeking to have and to hear about? So even with men, even as married or single, one thing I've learned in this life and walk is that every man that is on this planet has a cross that he has to bear, married or single. There comes a cross that you have to bear, especially because, as I was mentioning to Mark on our first meeting, we as men, as kings, we are what I call, we help remove weight from a lot of people's lives. We help remove weights. We bear burdens, a lot of burdens that we a lot of times don't need to bear, we end up bearing, but because we love people. We love people. And that's what I'm hearing tonight because, as an author, I strongly believe as an author, you got to love people. Okay. You got to humbly love people. And as from my experience of 37 years with my late wife, I've learned that even in a marriage covenant, it's okay to say, even as a man, honey, I was wrong. Did you hear what I said? I was wrong. Okay. Because one of the things I've learned about the good book is that one thing in our marriage is that we never allowed the sun to go down with our anger, or the other way, should I say, we never were angry when we went to bed. Okay. But that shouldn't be just a marriage thing. That can be also a friendship thing. That can be also a brother thing. That my brother, we've talked and shared some things that you have shared with me, or I have shared with you. But it helps remove the weight of what we need to explain and to share in a trusted environment. I want to emphasize trusted environment. Because there's sowing and reaping that takes place. And I'm learning that even things about our lives, whether we're on the beach, whether we're one-on-one, or a group, people are listening. What is it that you have for me that can help change my life? A good, great nugget that can help my marriage. And like I said, all it takes is one person. And God has a way of taking one person and causing one to be multiplied. And as we come together as authors, for me, it really blesses my heart that I can provide, should I say, an oracle of what's in my heart, or oracles of what's in my heart. Help men, married or single, to grow and to know that when it comes to, for example, in this case, let's say marriage, that understanding the power that it will covenant, okay, which is one of the things I believe is lacking. Can you guys still hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the things I believe is lacking in understanding, not just in, and what has really helped me, even with my son, who calls me a lot, to get wisdom, I should say. But it's a joyful thing, you know. I've learned in life it's not helpful to condemn anyone, regardless of what they're going through. Okay, it is not helpful at all, because one of the things that, you know, Paul said, if you condemn other people, you do the same thing. You know, so, or even worse. You know, so we don't want to be like that. And I think that if the deeper the testimony, the deeper the testimony that we have to help, that can help serve men in the community, in their homes, in their families, uh, it can really provide a foundation, should I say, to help, you know, all of us, you know, in our daily walk, because you never know who you may cross paths with. You never know. Workplace, marketplace, church. You may not realize it, but the most people who are broken are people in the church. The most people who are broken in the church, they are in the church. Okay. I'm not saying that they are not in the right place, but even in the church, you still have to come clean. Does that make sense? You still got to be, you got to still got to be humble enough to say, I'm willing to be vulnerable, so to speak, to where I am, regardless of my age, because sometimes we as men, we get to an age point where we don't need to talk to anybody about our business, you know, especially when it comes to the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. I'm grown, you know, but I'm learning that when you become, even as a 90-year-old man, when you become like a child, you know, in your 90s, you'll be amazed at what God can unfold in your heart, and the right people he will send in your life to help you get to the point in the next level that you need to be in, married or single, you know. But I definitely believe that I definitely believe that understanding the power of covenant, married or single, which is something I'm going to be sharing in my chapter, of how it can really help men understand that, look, God loves you, He cares for you. We all have had slips, trips, and falls. Okay, but we can always rebound and know that there's a place where God wants to restore us. He wants to reconcile us, and we don't have to go with the wave of what the world teaches when it comes to, you know, in this case, being a black man or a black woman, or being labeled as something that is contrary to our true identity. So that's my take on that, and I hope that answered your question, Marissa.
Oh yeah, it did. It really gave a lot of groundedness to it. And it is important for us to always realize, whether male or female, that we need accountability, peer-to-peer accountability. I talk about the 360-degree feedback, so that we know that we're doing well. And we do need to be in trusted environments where we can be vulnerable and it's safe for us. I also agree with you in my growing as a leader, you know, as a boss, so to speak, you know, leading my teams and working with the contributing writers. I have learned that you must have a high level of empathy, compassion, support, and you got to be very, very understanding of people if you want to see them transform. So I always say to folks, think about your results. What are the results that you want to get? What are the results that you want to achieve? And if those results are very important, they have high value, then you're going to learn to adapt your behavior, because that's the behavior that you can control. You're going to learn how to transform your mindset and your perspective so that you can see it in a broader way and learn how to communicate effectively with individuals in order for you to get the outcomes that you're looking to get. Not manipulation, not, the hustle or anything like that, but come to a place where you can have quality conversations like they were, Lawrence and Mark were saying earlier, was just having that tough conversation, but being able to have that conversation that's tough, still be open-minded in the midst of that, be able to process what's being shared with you in a way that is not quick to rush to judgment, rush to a decision. Learning how to, the art of communication is also too the art of keeping your mouth shut and listening. Some of that is part of the art of effective communication. So yeah, I do agree with you. And that comes from knowing thyself. Own It is always focused on self-awareness, self-development, and self-mastery. Why is that? Is because the only way that you're going to be able to live a fulfilling life is by one, knowing yourself first. You have to know who you are. What are your core values? What are your principles? What are your traditions? What are your value systems? How do you navigate? Where are you? Check your pulse to see where are you healed and where do you still need further healing. That's so important. And you only do that when you step back and have time, quality time with yourself. And also to understand that vulnerability, there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable. And if someone takes advantage of it, that's on them. And to own it, just like we were talking about, and I mean to put you on like highlight you, just like, it's vulnerable even to have the picture fall while you're live. That's a vulnerability, but we own that, right? We could either be like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, or we could say life happens, that happens, and then move on and move forward. Sometimes we get caught up in being vulnerable, and we hide vulnerability because it's really ego and pride. Be vulnerable, and if someone takes that the wrong way, trust me, God sees all of us, right? He sees everything that we're doing. You don't have to worry about getting people back, because God's vengeance is better than any of the vengeance that we could ever have. And when we do that, I think that we begin to become mature. I think that some of it is when we are in the 80s and 90s and we talk about being grown. You're being grown to do things without permission. That's what I believe that grown thing is. Maturity grounds you in being grown, but also too having some level of self-regulation, some level of self-control, some level of introspection. I think that that's important too. And so I just, I really, really appreciate that perspective and giving it and grounding it in a way that makes it sober and thinking about the approach to, being vulnerable, as well as being the one who is creating the atmosphere and the environment for an individual to be vulnerable. And so I see you sitting on the edge of your seat, Rakoma. And listen, guys, we're at the top of the hour. These are supposed to be 30 minutes, but I think that we're going to have to extend it to an hour. We're at the bottom of the hour, and I want to just say to our audience and also to you guys, we can relax, because we're doing this every week. So we're going to come back. We're going to talk about it every single week and continue the conversation and the dialogue in regards to it. So Dr. Rakoma, I'm going to ask you to say something. Larry, I'm going to ask you to say something. But Mark, I want you to close out, because we've talked a lot. And I think that this is important too, about with your book project, King Conversations Volume 2. I like V2 because everybody says Volume 2. I like V2, me and my little, ways of coming up with, slang ways of saying things. So I want us to talk about a little bit of King, the men's retreat, King Conclave, just very briefly, but I do want to close us out with that thought process, because that is an opportunity to begin a journey of men that can really, give some support where it's absolutely 100% needed, because that seems to be the common thread, that there needs to be, you come together, but don't come together and then fade out. You got to come together and you got to keep it together. And I think that also too with that will come, dates that are already lined up for what's next. So you have the retreat coming up, but what's the after that? What's the ripple effect of after that? But Rakoma, you're sitting on the edge of your seat. Share with us your thoughts. You have anything that you wanted to what were your thoughts about Brian, what he said, or anyone that's in the room? What are your thoughts?
Well, I would say that trust and vulnerability, I can attest to that to myself in terms of growing up a single parent home, only child at that. So I spent a lot of days just keeping to myself, doing activities to, keep myself busy. From a male perspective, growing up, we're taught we're taught to compete and be the best at whatever it is you do. So that translates into your adult world. So now you're competing for promotion. You're competing for the love of the eye of female affection, whatever the case may be. Some cases you're competing to get 2 cars ahead of the guy in front of you because you're trying to get home. So a lot of competition, it's subconscious. So when you meet new people, particularly males, whether you think about it or not, you're sizing them up as competition in some form or fashion. And what I've realized is you have to tone that back a little bit. I've never been much for being in the spotlight. I like to do good work, but I'm just as content being in the background and being the support element. Here on my journey, that's not the case. I realize I have to be in the spotlight. I have to be up front where everybody can see me. And I'm working through that process. But again, it goes back to the trusting that the people that you're talking to and you're sharing the vulnerability of yourself and who you are, that they're not going to abuse that and they're going to welcome you, right? It translates into relationships, whether you're married, single, dating, whatever the case may be. So for me, I've never really had I've had a lot of male friends as a popular loner, hang out with the fellas, and then at the end of the day, I go home, right? But I've never had a group of men where I could just sit down, such as the conclave, and just express what's on my mind. I was hoping to do that in June. Again, it just didn't work out. I hope to see y'all in May, and we can make that connection. But for me right now, just yesterday, I started my first Bible study class. So that's where I'm looking to get my community, to at least start a foundation of being able to be more forthcoming and trusting and sharing my vulnerability, not just through my books that I write in the chapters, but verbally, expressing that. And not, I guess, not being judged for it too. So.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you have a book project coming up, solo book. I want to share a little bit about that.
Yes. So this is my, I guess we'll call it my volume 2 to Sacred Whisperings, which was a book of spiritual poetry. So my next chapter is sacred knowledge, and basically defining leadership. So what I talk about in that book is how my phases of leadership, from being a soldier to being a husband to being a father to now being a spiritual mentor / coach, how does my phases of leadership evolve into each phase, and what worked and what didn't work. So that's where I'm at with that.
Awesome. And so, Lawrence, any closing thoughts?
Well, this and it hopefully it'll transform into something that's national, global, because it needs to happen. I think what needs to be understood first and foremost is that and this is each man individually. And I always take the approach that I can't be you. I can be me. I'm going to give you my authentic self. And to some, that may come off as being a clown. Where I'd like to have fun, I like to laugh, but at the same time, I can share my experiences. And if I can help someone move further in life, hey, I'm all for it because I've never been a gatekeeper. I don't want all this information to myself. If I can help someone get further than me, that's great because it does me no good if I leave this plane of existence and not having shared my knowledge. So you have to be okay with, look, I am who I am, and I've accepted myself. I accepted my flaws. I accepted who I am as an individual. I'm not ashamed to say that, depending on the topic, I will shed a tear. I don't like it, but sometimes my emotion gets that deep, that caught up, that you can't help it. So here I am down in the DR. I'm crying in front of all these people. I don't even know who they are. Okay. Now, that was something because a question was asked, and I'm at the end. But by the time the microphone got to me, I was no good. The buildup was quick. The buildup was quick. So I couldn't fight it if I wanted to. But that stemmed from some years ago when I was getting my granddaughter christened. We're going down, and I'm thinking I'm the last person behind me. And it was a family friend whose dad came. I never met him. First time I ever met him. And I'm thinking I'm the last one. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he said to me, "I'll stand with you, son." That broke me because I never heard those words. My dad had passed when I was 18. So to hear that, it took everything I had to keep it together while we're standing in front of the church to get my granddaughter christened. But when I got outside, I cried this man's chest because I never heard those words. "I'll stand with you, son."
Beautiful.
You know, and so when I'm down in the DR, and I don't know who posed the question, Mark, I think Mark came up with something, but as the microphone's getting passed, it got to me, I was no good because it brought me back to that point. So men have to be okay with not only, as you say, being vulnerable, but showing your raw, true self. This is, hey, this is what I am. Everybody has that point. Everybody has their breaking point. And so I'm not afraid to do that. And at the same time, I'm certainly not afraid with trying to help someone get further along. So I'm appreciative to you, Dr. Bludor, and I appreciate the Mark, because when we get together, I'm gonna stick something in his ear and make him laugh anyway. But that's what I do. So
Awesome. So all right, visionary, come on, talk to us. Why is King Conversation, listening to this conversation tonight, why is King Conversation so important?
This is a great question, and thank you for all the gentlemen that came on. Brian, you just was dropping some theological knowledge and gems over there. I appreciate everything you said, but this whole conversation is the reason the conversation is important, because we're actually sharing from different points of views, but we're all sitting here probably running script in our head. I know that's like, oh, I've been there too. I've been on this, I've been on that. And you don't ever get a chance to necessarily share it with someone who is on the journey with you. But there are a lot of men that are on the journey with you and won't talk about it. And I think that has a lot to do with us and how we were raised, how we were brought up. We can go about this all night. But the reality of it is, at some point we have to take ownership of our journey to, like Dr. Berry said, we take ownership of your journey and do what you need to do for you. And it's okay. And I think that's what needs to be made aware, is that it's comfortable and it's a safe space. I don't want to be in conversations where it's not safe. Although I'm a nice, cool guy, I'll probably drop an F-bomb here some point in time away, because that's what I do. But it doesn't take away from who I am as a person. My passion is somehow come out. You all are the rate. I'd rather speak. Give me a mic, give me a stage, and give me an audience over everything, right? That's what I'd rather do. That is my transparency moment. That's my share moment. That's how I connect with people. That's how I coach people. And that's what the conclave is about. It is a gathering of the minds. Every king at that table is a king for a reason. right? He got there through his journey, through his challenges, his ups, his downs, his shortcomings, his flaws, and all of his bad habits and everything else makes him that king at this table. And I need that story. I need the insight. I need the lessons learned. I need the pitfalls. I need to go, oof, that was me too. Lord, I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the only one. Okay. Because we feel like we're the only one. And we're not. And to be around people, the men who can just share with you and pour into you. And nobody wants to be the lead. Here's what I find. I think someone was saying it before, is that as men, we're always fighting the war. We got the whole armor of God. Everything's on the front, nothing's on the back, because we always advance. We're never retreating. We're retreating. We're dead. But then you come home, and I got to keep the armor on and come in the house, and I got to fight you. And then I can't get no rest because I got to fight when I get up in the morning. When do we get to relax? When do we get to put it down and say, whew, I know God said turn over to him, but Lord, I can't seem to set this down because someone's always coming for me, right? When do we get to do that? And King Conversation and Conclave has got to be that place. I think if you walk in and can be disarmed, whether it's by humor, whether it's by a hug or a dap, or I see you, oh my God, I read your, whatever it may be, for you to just go, and if I can get you to exhale, if I can get you just to exhale for a moment and get the salt water in and the sand on your toes, whatever, I can get you to the next level where you're trying to be. And you can help me to stay on my level and go higher as well. It's a give and take. We have to be able to do this. And for those men, the men we got together who I didn't know outside the book, the immediate ability to disarm and engage fully and honestly and earnestly without judgment, fear, retribution. Now, we're going to battle back and forth, and men challenge men. That's what we do. That's what I fully expect. But at the end of the day, I respect your opinion. I respect your position, right? And then we go on about our way and go eat some more fish and chicken or whatever was over there to eat. That's the conclave. And the hope and prayer, I think, was what the aftermath, the aftermarket, if you will, is that the continuation will be. As I try to build out this community to keep the conversation going, I had to recognize something too, because I am the conversationalist. I am that dude. I don't want to be solely responsible for making this thing continue by itself, because I'm gonna drop it. I promise you, I'm gonna drop it. Because I got other stuff to do, other people calling me, other stuff I overcommitted to. You know what I'm saying? Life be the lifing. So the concept is that everyone contributes. Every king has to contribute to this collective of information. I need to hear what you got to say, Brother Barry. Bring the Bible study on. I know we got about 75 pastors and deacons in this project. We have church every day of the week. It'd be fine. But I need your insight. I need the brother Stokes' insight from inside the prison and all his work. I need you, Byron, to come on and share with you the wisdom. You sit back and lean back on us and start talking and pontificating about what it was like back in the 50s. I understand. We need all of those things. And because that's the case, I want things coming on, sharing about financial literacy, sharing about fitness, sharing about health and wealth. We're going to sit down and have a conversation. And my mama said, this is when you get old. When you get with your friends, who's still alive, who died, what medicine you taking, and when's your next doctor's appointment.
Yep, that right there.
I got my line brothers after about 39 years. We finally got back together because of King. It was such a burden. Like, how do we do this whole process of pledging together and then we fall off and don't talk for 25, 30 years? How does that happen? And the hard part is to break that habit and go back to some similarity of communication. It takes effort. It takes extreme effort to get off the bench and do relationships. And we don't do it well because it's too easy just to fall back and say, I'll talk to that Bama later. I ain't talking in 30 years. He'd be all right. No, we won't. But the last good conversation we had, we talked about who died, who's alive, what's your blood pressure doing, what's your A1C doing. We got to do better, change your diet, get rid of this, that. But this is where we are. So I can go on all night with this, but that's Kings, and that's the hope and drive and prayer that out of this thing we can continue the conversation with the community group, whether we're gonna post up somewhere privately, we can be together, whether through a podcast where I'm putting it up, like anybody want to come on and talk about whatever, talk to me about gold, talk to me about Bitcoin, talk to me about whatever, talk to me about trading, talk to me about politics. And then we're going to stop it because I really don't want to talk about politics. I want to talk about us inside the world of politics, what we got to deal with. What is our mind saying to us right now? What's the world trying to do to us right now? Right? Yes, you're right. Yes, you're wrong. Yes, you're right. Yes, you're wrong. But in the middle of that, we have to still be kings. We still have a mission that's been given us to go do. So that's where my passion lies on this thing. Out of it, there'll be something else. We are talking about a shift, Barry, to get there in May. That was a last minute shift.
Yeah.
I got to pull a few strings to see how they make this work, because my heart says I need to be where the men are. If they're not going to be in June, we can do it on that's my birthday weekend. Don't judge me by nothing I do when I turn 51. Well, when the island stays on the island, that's all I'm going to say right there. Anyway.
Either way, I look forward to meeting all of y'all face to face. So I'm looking forward to it regardless.
So I'll just wrap it up with that, Marisa. You again, thank you for being the stalwart brainchild on this, because sometimes we all need somebody to help us keep us moving, and then allowing us to move and do.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's all I got for you tonight.
Absolutely, and I thank you for that, because go right ahead.
Real quick, and that was just what we was just thinking about. It was just laid in my heart that men truly want to be three things. They want to be valued, they want to be appreciated, and they want to be celebrated, married or single. If a man can get a hold of that vision, he can change the entire world. And it starts with us. And that's what I believe, as we come together as authors, co-authors, and yourself, that's what we're doing. And I believe that's what makes the difference in the lives of so many people. Not falsely valued, not falsely appreciated, and not falsely celebrated, but truly, as men, valued, appreciated, and celebrated. That's all I have. Thank you.
That's awesome. And I just love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. And I am so looking forward to the King Conversations, putting that project together, that book project together, and then seeing you guys come together and just watch. And listen, you come here, if you do the May thing, then listen, y'all have your own space. There's plenty of room on the resort for you guys to, sneak away, sneak off, and do your own thing within the thing. Just love it. And just so very, I can't say it enough. I'm just so proud of you guys. I'm so thankful for you guys being in my lives. You guys cheer me on. I always say it to you, Lawrence. You're my backbone behind the scenes, just always encouraging me, always supporting me. Mark, same thing. Barry, always on point. You and Lawrence submitting y'all stuff. Y'all be on it. The two gentlemen in the room, just on it, and just making my life easier. And just trust me, I appreciate it. It's major when you get people that see the vision, value the vision, and commit to the vision. And that's one thing I could say about you guys is the same thing. Mark, you just stuck with me no matter what. So appreciate you for that. Looking forward to this being a huge success to our men. And you are loved, you're celebrated, you're valued, you're appreciated. You are. And that's exactly what this honor was all about, was to really, really say to you that I see you guys. I see you guys. I love you guys. And I am rooting you on. I'm praying for you and all of that good stuff. And so we're going to say goodnight. This has been an hour and like 10 minutes. I think it's like an hour and 20 minutes. And so, but the conversation is needed. So just appreciate you. Can't wait to see what next week's conversation is going to be like. And since we've been talking about King Conversations tonight, we're going to go out with that.